Giving honor to God our Father, Christ our Redeemer, humankind our family, I will lift mine eyes unto the hills, from whence comes my help. My help comes from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. Hello, and welcome again to TYREETALK. September 11, 2021. 20 years ago, on September 11, 2001, the world stopped turning. Country singer Alan Jackson woke up early one Sunday morning and wrote these memorable words while his wife and daughters went to Sunday school. Words that became a hit song. Where were you when the world stopped turning that September day? Were you in the yard with your wife and children or working on some stage in LA? Did you stand there in shock at the sight of the black smoke rising against that blue sky? Did you shout out in anger and fear for your neighbor, or did you just sit down and cry? Did you weep for the children? They lost their dear loved ones. Pray for the ones who don't know. Did you rejoice for the people who walked from the rubble and sob for the ones left below? Did you burst out with pride for the red, white, and blue and the heroes who died just doing what they do? Did you look up to heaven for some kind of answer and look at yourself and what really matters? I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political man. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran. But I know Jesus and I talk to God, and I remember this when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things he gave us, and the greatest is love. Where were you when the world stopped turning that September day? Teaching a class full of innocent children or driving down some cold interstate? Did you feel guilty because you're a survivor in a crowded room? Did you feel alone? Did you call up your mother and tell her you love her? Did you dust off that Bible at home? Did you open your eyes and hope it never happened? Close your eyes and not go to sleep? Did you notice the sunset for the first time in ages and speak to some stranger on the street? Did you lay down at night and think of tomorrow, go out and buy you a gun? Did you turn off that violent old movie you're watching and turn on I Love Lucy reruns? Did you go to a church and hold hands with some strangers, stand in line to give your own blood? Did you just stay home and cling tight to your family? Thank God you had somebody to love. I always dread my memory of September 11, 2001, for it gives me chills and sparks a moment of sadness. I was a government civilian employee for a military command, as well as an Army Reserve warrant officer. On that day, I was in my civilian employee status. I was summoned to the Chief Executive Officer and Commanding General's conference room with other leaders to hear the briefing and watch the towers fall on television. Fear and remorse engulfed me as I remained cool and calm on the outside. Listen as the voices of four of my friends share what they were doing when the world stopped turning.
The morning of 9/11, I was excited. I had prepared to take photos for my promotion board that will be coming up that year. I parked my car in the parking lot at my workplace. I walked into the building and people were walking the halls, which was unusual that time of morning. Normally we arrive and go to our office and start our day. And someone said, "Have you heard? Heard what? The trade center has been bombed." I said, "What?" And later the Pentagon, and I started calling individuals of my command because they were in Washington for a briefing. I was unable to get my commander, Colonel Swart. I was unable to get in touch with Captain Price, our AGR personnel person. I called the unit. They were unable to communicate. And right away, my mind went into combat mode. What is happening now? That was the morning of 9/11. I called my girlfriend at 81st RSC, Ida, and I said, Ida, she said, girl, we getting ready to go into a meeting now. We've been in already. I'll get back with you. That was the morning of 9/11.
And here is another friend's recap of that day. And I hope that this doesn't sadden you. We just wanted to share our feelings for that day.
9/11 was a very tragic time in the United States of America. At that time, I was assigned to the 87th Training Division as a deputy commander for the 1st Brigade, 87th. When the attack occurred, I was in my office, and I was called down to the headquarters, and we saw the devastating crash of the planes landing into the Pentagon. We were all stunned because we never thought that something like that would happen in the United States of America with all our defenses that we have to mitigate any type of terrorist threat. The whole building, there was a feeling of somber. There was a feeling of uncertainty, a feeling of what will we do next, a feeling of what should the president do in the advent of this very devastating event. Fortunately, I had made plans for contingency operations prior to this event, so it was very easy for us to activate Army Reserve soldiers, and we had a force package to train soldiers in the Army Reserve and National Guard to go forth and fight in the Middle East. There was a lot of trepidation and uncertainty with the Army Reserve because there was no set format for them to go into the country and then exit. And it had a lot of issues with their employers because they didn't know exactly how long they were going to be gone, when they were going to have to depart. And we were in a state of chaos. And later on, the Army Reserve developed a Arthrogen cycle where there was more predictability of how Army Reservists would go in country and out of country and how they would support Homeland Security. I will never forget that moment. It was something that will be in my mind for eternity. But after all was said and done, I think that we did a very good job in responding to Homeland Security as well as operating in the Middle East.
And that was Colonel retired Cornelius Easter. And now I will share from a fellow warrant officer's point of view, and this is CW5 Chief Warrant Officer retired Billy Ankershine.
Good morning. This is CW5 Bill Ankershine. As I reflect back on what I was doing when 9/11 happened, I was a young Chief Warrant Officer in the Army. I was out of town doing a site inspection visit on one of our maintenance companies at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, when the planes suddenly struck the towers. When it was discovered that this was an attack on the United States, all military installations went on lockdown. All airports were immediately shut down as well. Luckily, one of the other inspectors drove, so I negotiated a ride home with him. This changed our world dramatically. Many lives were lost on that day, and many more were lost in the war on terror in Afghanistan and Iraq. This reality was real to me as well, as I was deployed to both Iraq and Afghanistan on 2 separate deployments. Ironically, I was in Iraq for one anniversary and Afghanistan for two. I saw the lives of service members cut short due to these wars. So please, remember the families of the lost in your prayer time, and especially say a prayer during the anniversary of 9/11. Good day.
And our last person is Colonel Tracy Dawkins. And let's listen to him.
Yes, that day, 9/11, still is fresh in my mind. My name is Tracy Dawkins. At the time, I was working for the 81st Regional Readiness Command, reporting to work, and everyone standing around watching what little television we had to see what had happened. After that, we all was released and told to come back the next day to work, and reporting to work and driving into the gate and having our vehicle searched. And then from there on, we started preparing soldiers to be deployed into Afghanistan. While in the midst of doing all this, I eventually get alerted that I would be deployed. It was the Christmas Eve of 2002, and the day after New Year's in 2003, I was mobilized, and by 18th of January 2003, I was sent to Kuwait for a 12-month deployment into a theater that was not ready to receive the soldiers, but it was something that we had to endure. And from that moment on, my life as a civilian and a soldier has been impacted by 9/11.
This is Tyree Talk out of Tyree-Hyche Hill. Until next time, have a great day.